Welcome to Podcast Stories. Today, we delve into the tale of a man who uncovers a shocking truth: his own family has been deceiving him for over 2 decades. I'm Jim Reynolds, 56 years old, standing at 5 feet 8 inches, and maintaining decent fitness. For 22 years, I believed my spouse, Kelly, was my unwavering companion. She's 45, with blonde hair, blue eyes, standing at 5 feet 2 inches, and exuding an aura of allure. Our intimate moments were cherished by me, despite occasional discontent. My journey began with 8 years of service in the Special Forces straight after high school, mastering explosives. Subsequently, 6 years were dedicated to engineering studies. Post-military, I ventured into entrepreneurship, crafting a thriving construction empire. Few are privy to my military past, as it necessitated 4 years of therapy to reconcile my inner turmoil. Hence, it remains a topic seldom discussed. Preceding my military tenure, I obtained a pilot's license. Despite my efforts to share the joy of flying with Kelly, her lack of trust hindered our adventures. From the moment I laid eyes on Kelly, love enveloped me. 2 years later, we exchanged vows. Hailing from a lineage of affluence, she bears the surname Moore, tracing back to Richard Moore of the Mayflower. Her family regarded me with disdain, treating me as inferior. Yet, I showered Kelly with lavish gifts, including a sprawling estate in Cambridge, Massachusetts, complete with a 4-car garage, and her coveted BMW. Together, we parented 2 sons, John, aged 21, and Ben, aged 19, both pursuing higher education. Each received a brand new BMW, contrasting starkly with my humble 10-year-old GMC pickup truck. About 6 years ago, they started treating me differently. I later found out why. They don't listen to me at all and pretty much do whatever they want. They do listen to Kelly, their mother, though. I hired Jan about 8 years ago. I thought he was my best friend. The kids seemed to love him, though. About a year ago, my wife Kelly left her email open. I was bored, so I decided to read it. I don't know why, but I started looking at all her emails. I couldn't believe what she was writing. She said she has hated me from the minute she met me, and her whole family feels the same way about me. I found out that the kids aren't mine, they are my ex-best friend's kids, John. They were told about 6 years ago. I never knew he knew Kelly way before I hired him. They get a big laugh at me because it is right in front of me, Rick, my son, and John, my ex-best friend. When I married Kelly, my father-in-law wanted me to sign a prenup, which I did. It expires in 2.5 years after 25 years of marriage. It has an infidelity clause that says if either one of us cheats, the cheater leaves with nothing. I have a friend, Kevin, from when I was in the service. He knows someone who knows all about spying on people. His name is Paul. He set it up so that anytime Kelly writes an email, it also goes to a private account that I now have. I also get copies of emails that my kids write. My whole house is now wired and set up so that I can hear their phone calls, and I have video of what goes on too. If it weren't for Kevin, my whole family would be dead. He talked me out of killing them and asked me about what I could do to my family that would hurt them the most: take their money, credit, their family name, and pride to disgrace them in the public. John and his friends all know about how I have been manipulated by my wife and the kids. They laugh at me and make jokes about me. They know all about the prenup and the affair. They can't wait for Tom, my best friend, to come in and take over. I have video of my father-in-law talking about me, how they are going to make it look and sound like I got the money for my company from him. They plan on having John take over my company. They have planned this for years. That is why they had him apply to work for me and why he has acted like my best friend. The only people that I know I can truly trust are my old military buddies. I am so glad that I have kept in touch with them. I have hired Paul as a computer consultant for my company. He has wired my company also so that I know who is on my side and who isn't. That means that I had about 1.5 years to plan for a divorce. I had to act the cuck for that whole time. I no longer made love to her, I just her thinking the whole time how I wasted 22.5 years on her. When I looked back at how she treated me, I just her harder, wanting to hurt her. I only her when I was sure she hadn't been by John. I would send him out of town for business, she never caught on. I know that I had gotten sloppy seconds and that I had eaten John's cream pies in the past, but that was now in the past. I had to keep like I had no idea what had been going on. I had to make it look like John was still my best friend. I would her in public places just to humiliate her. I would her so that her friends would catch us. I got DNA tests done to prove that our kids were not mine and that they are John's. Their plan was for John to take over the company after the divorce. They had planned on taking me to the cleaners and humiliating me. I had met quietly with a company to buy me out. The guy that was buying me out had been a competitor, but I always knew he was honest. I was going to sell my company on the cheap. I explained to the guy who was buying me out why. He said that we're the only ones for now that would know, including his and my lawyers. The law firm that I had hired for this hated my father-in-law also. That was one of the reasons why I hired them, and they knew it. The law firm told me what I should do: open a private bank account, open a private phone account. They had suggested that I talk to Kelly and the kids into leasing their cars instead of buying new ones. That way, they would get a new car every year. Better still, I would not be buying new cars, and it would be a lot cheaper for me. Everyone thought it was a great idea. I started quietly packing my stuff and putting it in a rented storage shed. Everyone would kind of laugh in my face or behind my back. I told Kelly that we should start doing our taxes separately and put the house in just her name for tax reasons. We had to get a new mortgage in just her name for this. Her whole family thought that was a great idea, easier for her to take the house in the divorce. My new law firm suggested that also so that my credit would not be ruined. She wanted an in-ground pool and a bunch of other changes to the house. I let her have whatever she wanted. I encouraged her, but she had to get a second mortgage on the house. Of course, the loans would also have to be in just her name because the house was now just in her name. Half the money would go for the changes she wanted, and half went into my private account without anyone noticing. I still did all the bills. I changed all my insurance beneficiaries to go to charities in case of my demise. I sold my company without anyone noticing. I made sure that the new owners would keep all the employees except for John and his cronies. Within a year, I had everything ready for my departure. I suggested that I treat the whole family, in-laws and my now ex-best friend John, to a 2-week trip to Europe. I know they were laughing at me behind my back, but it worked for me. After all, Kelly was paying for it. I was the one laughing. I bought 150 acres of land in Alaska without anyone knowing. The only way to it is by plane. No one in my family really cared or knew that I still had a pilot's license. I had plans made up for an off-grid cabin on stilts and a shelter for my plane. I hired a company to build it for me. I wanted it to be move-in ready. That was going to take a little bit longer than I was hoping for. So I also bought a house with a large barn-like garage. I would live in Fairbanks, nothing fancy. It is just a simple house where I could keep the motorhome and have a place to stay when I wanted to travel. A military friend bought a new motorhome and registered it in his name. He hated my in-laws also. He had tried to tell me, but love is blind. I gave him $5,000 for him to do that for me, plus money for the motorhome. He didn't want the money, but I forced him and my other friends to take money for helping me. From reading Kelly's emails, they thought I was the dumbest wimp. I stopped paying on the house, their cars, all their insurances, and the utilities, all were in Kelly's name, so again it was her credit. That was going to be trashed, not mine. I bought a P-box in Kelly's name and had all the bills sent to it. Kelly and her family thought I was so dumb taking care of all the bills for them with my money. When the divorce is final, her credit will be ruined, not mine. I also won't be working, so no alimony payments. They won't be able to find out what I sold my company for. All the money went to an offshore account. It looked like I had lost the company to the new company. Plus, I plan on disappearing just before the trip. I told them that I had a company emergency, and I would meet up with them later. They didn't seem to care and were happy that I wasn't traveling with them. The night before they left, I made sure Kelly would remember me. I hit her as hard as I could. She seemed to love it at first. I also slapped her ass for the first and last time. She was really mad at me for that. She would be sore for a few days. Too bad for John. He had been hitting her and her ass for years but denying me. As soon as they flew off for Europe, I went back to the house and grabbed everything I wanted. I left the house wide open. My friend Paul came over and got all the surveillance equipment he had at my house. I paid a moving company cash to move my stuff up to Alaska. I didn't have much that I was taking. Clothes, tools, fishing gear. I had some guns that I had in a gun safe. Some of them were from my military days. I had those shipped and put in storage until I got to Alaska. I left all the furniture. I made sure they would not know where I was going, leaving no paperwork. He wanted for a month. The next thing, I went to my in-laws' house. I had keys to their house, so I unlocked it, turned on all the lights, and got on my so-called son's laptop. I posted on a college website that there's a week-long college kegger party at their house. They were always tight with their money. Also, no wonder they liked John so much more than me. The part years would destroy their house, their cars, and their boat. I next went to the bank and closed out all my accounts, canceled all my credit cards. I had taken $50,000 from my wife's account and transferred it to mine. I sold my truck to a car dealer. After 3 days, I left for Alaska without telling anyone where I was going. I kept track of what was happening through my wife's emails. No one, neither my wife, my kids, my in-laws, nor my ex-best friend, called to see where I was. They were having a great time, thinking it was all on me, when it was actually my wife, Kelly, who was paying for it. I took my time seeing all the sights while crossing the country, using just cash to pay for anything. I drove to Bellingham, Washington, and got on a ferry to Valdez, Alaska, then drove up to Fairbanks. No passport is needed. By the time I got to Washington, Kelly and her family were just getting back from their Europe trip, seeing their houses and properties wrecked. They still had no idea it was me who set them up. In fact, they still didn't notice I was gone. They were all concerned about their houses and not me. It was the police who started asking about me, not my so-called family. That was Sunday, a day after they got back to the United States, that they started figuring it out. I had given my attorney written power of attorney to deal with my divorce. I told them that in 2 weeks I would check in with them, not letting them know where I was. On Monday morning, Kelly was served her adultery divorce papers. I wanted to sue John for alienation of affection, but Massachusetts does not allow that. I guess too many state politicians were getting sued. But poor John and his cronies all lost their jobs per my agreement with the new company owners. With all his belongings gone, what a shame. Kelly now owed more than she had in the bank. All the creditors were after her. Their cars were all repossessed. The power and water had been shut off. Property taxes were now due, and both mortgages were past due. She and her two spoiled rotten kids would have to move in with her parents in a hotel since her parents' home had been totally trashed. Her parents had to rent cars for all of them. I felt so bad just thinking of all their problems they were having. John had to move in with them also, since his property was trashed also. He had to beg her parents to rent him a car also. They had all gone from BMWs to little ship box Fords. Kelly and her family hired some private investigators to find me. Kelly's attorneys tried to stall the divorce, bad move on their part. The case went very public with the DNA test and videos of them having sex ending up on the internet, audio of how long the affair had gone on for, the fact that the whole family knew she was having an affair and that they encouraged it, the whole family planning to ruin and humiliate me in public, take my company, and how they felt about the middle class. There was video and audio of her family paying off politicians and how they paid off public officials, crept on those who were honest. I had it all put on as many websites that liked to show that stuff. The divorce finally went through. The judge that was supposed to hear the case had to excuse himself because he was one of the paid-off public officials that was outed. I did reach out to the kids, but they just ignored me. 5 years later, I flew into Boston to wrap up some old business. I went to a restaurant that I knew her family frequented. They walked right past me and didn't recognize me. I now have long gray hair, a beard, and I am in better shape now. I asked my waiter to send their table a bottle of champagne. The whole family looked 20 years older. They all turned their gazes toward me, and after a brief moment, Kelly erupted, "Oh my God, you!" She cut herself off, realizing who I was. She proceeded to reveal my identity to the others. John charged at me in a fit of anger, but with a single blow, I rendered him unconscious. Then came his son, my former stepson, attempting to confront me. Though I subdued him, he remained conscious. Kelly rushed over, hurling accusations and insults, blaming me for tearing apart her family. The authorities intervened, arresting me on the spot. Summoning my lawyer through the waiter, I anticipated the police might not grant me the opportunity. Thanks to my lawyer's foresight and ensuring they obtained copies of the surveillance footage, the police ultimately released me. The tapes depicted me calmly interacting with them, sending champagne and defending myself. Kelly later phoned my hotel room, seeking a conversation. We met in the lobby, where I ensured our exchange was recorded. She questioned my actions toward her and her family, to which I responded with incredulity. I calmly disclosed my discovery of their scheme against me and how I acted preemptively. Unbeknownst to her, I refrained from mentioning the extent of my surveillance, including wiretapping and monitoring her emails. Consequences followed. She lost her possessions, as did Mike. They were compelled to move in with her parents. When questioned further, Kelly admitted to initially marrying me to escape her family and later finding amusement in manipulating me. I departed without further words, returning to Alaska to relish a peaceful life, content in the knowledge of the havoc I wrought upon their lives and reputations. It was a preferable alternative to resorting to violence. They will be haunted by thoughts of me indefinitely. To our valued listener, if you've made it this far, kindly consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated.